Most project managers don't struggle because they lack documents. They struggle because they don't know which ones actually matter or how to use them properly. So, in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 10 essential project documents that you absolutely need with real examples. I've been using and refining these documents for over 15 years across various types of different projects. And these are the ones that consistently matter for project success. Now, if you want to get access to all of these templates that are to follow, plus over 100 more that will enable you to manage a project from initiation through to closure, then I've linked my full project management template library down below. Now, let's walk through each of those 10 documents, including important information such as when to use it and how to actually use it in a real life project setting. Now, the first document that you absolutely need is a project charter. This is your high level project definition, what the project is, why it exists, and what success will look like. You use this right at the start of the project before any detailed planning takes place. And the purpose is to align stakeholders and make sure that everyone understands what the project is trying to achieve. So typically it's created by you, the project manager, and it's often used by the sponsor and also key stakeholders too. Now, when you're creating this, it's essential to keep it high level. You're not planning the project here. You're agreeing on objectives, scope, and success criteria. If this isn't clear, everything else will become harder. Now, the next document is the project plan. This is your detailed delivery plan. It includes tasks, timelines, dependencies, and sometimes milestones too. Now, you create this once the project is approved and you move into planning. This is what gives a project its structure and how the work will actually be delivered. You, the project manager, owns it and creates it, and the whole team will work from it. Now, when you build this, break it down into tasks, sequence them properly, and assign owners as well. Now, the project plan you see on screen here is rather detailed. It's broken down into the different milestones, as you can see here. We've got a work breakdown structure on the left, which assigns a unique number and reference to it and allows you to move through the project. Now, how much detail you need to go in depends on the projects you're working on, your organization, expectations, who you're sharing it with, etc. But bear in mind that more information you can give into who's working on it, when that activity is starting, when it's due to end, and any additional commentary is always going to help. But this is ultimately something that you need to update regularly, and it's something that will turn your project from an idea into something executable. Now, the third document is the scope statement or the project scope statement. Now, this defines what's included in the project and just as importantly, what isn't. Now, you create this early in the planning phase, and the purpose, the main goal of it really, is to prevent scope creep and keep the project under control. Now, this is used by you, the project manager, but also stakeholders and sometimes even clients as well. Now, when you're pulling this together, be specific. If something isn't documented here, it shouldn't be assumed. This is what is going to protect the project long term. The fourth document is the project budget. This outlines the expected costs of the project, including resources, materials, and any other spend that is relevant to the project. Now, again, you'll create this during the planning phase, typically alongside the project plan. And the purpose is to make sure that the project is financially viable and stays under financial control. Now, again, it's used by you, the project manager, the sponsor, and sometimes even the finance teams, depending on how your organization is structured. But when you build this and start adding information, make sure that the costs are as realistic as possible and track your actual spend against it as the project progresses. If you're not tracking budget, it's very easy for projects to drift without anyone realizing. Now, this particular budget is broken down into labor, materials, and other expenses like travel and equipment. Again, this can be and should be updated for your particular industry, organization, or the type of project that you're working on. The fifth document is the risk register. Now, this is or allows you to list all potential risks along with their likelihood, impact, and any mitigation that you put in place, or in other words, activities to reduce either their impact or likelihood in general. Now, you'll do this or create this document at the start of the project and you will update it throughout. Ultimately, the purpose is to reduce any risks or surprises and stay ahead of any of them developing. Now, typically it will be used by you, the project manager, your teams, and also stakeholders as well. It's typically reported to senior management. Now, the key thing here is that this document should be reviewed very regularly, and it's very important that you build it right at the start of the project, usually even before the project kicks off. It's a living document, and you must ensure that you don't forget about it and everything is kind of documented here regardless of how big you believe the risk to be. Now, the other thing that's really important, it's important that you classify each risk against its chance of happening, known as a probability level, and also the impact, or in other words, what would happen should that risk develop. This enables you to create something such as a priority level, which enables you to prioritize the risks in terms of kind of low to high chance and impact. And what this will enable you to do is ensure that mitigation is put in place for those most likely and most severe. Now, the next document, not to be confused with the risk register, is the issue log. Now, the issue log is something that enables you to track any potential issues that arise on the project. It shouldn't be confused with risks. Risks and issues are very different. So these are kind of active problems that are happening right now. Now, this will be used or created and kind of referenced during project delivery. And the purpose is to make sure issues are visible, assigned, and managed properly. And again, it's typically used by you, the project manager, and your wider teams. Now, each issue should be logged, assigned to an owner, and tracked until it's resolved. So it's similar in structure to the risk register, but it is very different in terms of how you basically proceed with them. Issues aren't going to derail a project like risks will, but they should absolutely be prioritized, reviewed carefully, and actioned upon. Now, the next document is the stakeholder register. This is a list that you should document of all the different stakeholders that are associated with the project, along with their level of influence and interest as well. Again, you should create this very early in the project, and the purpose is to help you manage the communication and expectations effectively. Again, this is going to be used by you, primarily the project manager, and when you're building this, focus on identifying who actually matters. Not all stakeholders are equal. Now, what you can do in this document is you can include things like contact information should you want to communicate with them. You can also add extra details like when you're going to communicate with them and via what channel. It could be an email, it could be a Slack, anything that you're kind of using in your organization. Now, the next document, which kind of goes hand in hand with this, is the project communication plan. Now, this defines who gets what information, when and how. In other words, those stakeholders we just discussed. Now, you create this during the planning phase, and the purpose is to avoid confusion and keep everyone aligned and updated as the project goes on. Now, when you build this, you want to clearly define the audience, frequency, and format of communication. And this is why it overlaps a little bit with the stakeholder register I've just presented to you. Now, that stakeholder register might be a little bit more limited. This is when you can go into a lot kind of further detail and information. It just makes sure that everyone is kind of kept updated as the project goes on. Now, the next really important and ninth document is the change log. This tracks any changes to scope, timeline, or budget. And you will use this again during the project delivery phase. Now, the purpose is to prevent uncontrolled changes and keep the project on track. And you can document different types of changes, including scope, budget, time, quality, among others as well, or among others as well. This is used by you, the project manager, and also other key stakeholders as well. And every change should be documented, not just discussed. You want an audit trail of all of these change requests. This is a change request log, so everything should be requested rather than finalized from the outset. Remember, every change has a cost, and this is what tracks it. Now, the 10th document is the lessons learned log, or sometimes known as a lessons learned template, etc. Now, this is what enables you to learn from all of the projects that you project manage and work upon. You can capture what worked well and what didn't. In fact, what didn't work well is sometimes more important. You complete this at the end of the project. Sometimes, and usually, it's useful to kind of work on this throughout the project to make sure you don't miss any lessons. Now, the purpose is ultimately to improve future projects. And again, it's going to be documented by you, the project manager, and also it's useful to share with the team to populate as well. Keep this simple and focused on actionable insights that can actually be applied to every future project that you take care of or that you manage in your organization. So those are the 10 essential project documents. And if you look at them together, they follow the full project lifecycle from starting a project through planning and delivery all the way to closure. Now, if you don't already have these set up, you don't need to build them all from scratch. As I said at the start of this video, I've created a complete project management template library that includes all of these, plus over 100 additional templates that you can use straight away that are branded, they're matching, and will enable you to run successful projects. The link is in the description down below for that. Otherwise, I wish you all the best with your projects and your documents, and I hope you have an excellent day.